Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts about the 40K universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we're going to explore the reasons why war exists in Warhammer 40K, specifically for a rogue trader. So this is a rogue trader part 4 or 3. If you guys have any requests for topics, please comment down below. Don't forget to put suggestion followed by that topic. With that said, let's go into 40 facts about rogue traders. The ability to successfully wage war is crucial to the survival of a rogue trader, as surely as his skills in business, diplomacy, and voidfaring. It is the strong arm and the implicit threat of violence that lends weight to the man's word in the Imperium. A rogue trader's martial prowess is often the only measure by which others judge him. Knowing this, a wise rogue trader studies war with the same fervor as he studies markets and currencies. He knows the value of war to the nearest throne, understanding that the true cost of war is reflected in more than the banking ledgers and casualty lists. A rogue trader must be able to weigh every factor in war, from costs and benefits to the social and political ramifications. This is what sets a rogue trader apart from a common, charismatic captain. He has the ability to raise an army and a fleet of ships to carry it, and the legal, moral, and ethical backings of the administratum that allows him to use them as he sees fit. This makes him unique among his peers. Warfare is an intrinsic dance, full of ever-shifting alliances and uncertain futures, and is not to be entered into lightly. When committed, a rogue trader must pursue it with all of its strength, courage, and violence that he can muster. While the benefits of waging war can truly be staggering, and may make a man a king, the cost of failure is always death, whether true death or the mirage of little deaths like humiliation, loss of power, loss of wealth, or even enslavement. These are all important issues to keep in mind when approaching war, though they are by no means the only ones, and it is a fool who disregards their importance. Wars of conquest are military endeavors, whereby the attacker seeks to subjugate an enemy through sheer force of arms. They are waged mainly to acquire some sort of prize, typically land and natural resources, but oftentimes also slaves or some other form of wealth held by the defenders. Since the goal is the occupation of enemy land, the subjugation of its people, and the exploitation of resources, wars of conquest are infinitely complex. They require better planning, larger and long-term commitments, and perhaps more finesse than wholesale slaughter. They also have a permanency about them, for once an invading force enters a land for conquest, they are typically there to stay. Rogue traders rarely take part in wars of conquest, at least not as a conqueror. Wars of this type tend to tie a man down to a single place and make him responsible for a whole lot of ground-based activities like reconstruction, defense, and subjugation. As this is the exact opposite to many free-wielding rogue traders who typically prefer the bridge of a void ship to the halls of government, they tend to take support roles in other people's wars of conquest, supplying weapons and material, providing monetary or temporary military backing in the form of void ships and house troops, establishing logistical chains, and smuggling have made many a fortune during a larger conflict. By far, the single most common reason to wage war throughout the Imperium of Man is a war of faith. The religious war is perhaps also the easiest to justify. The opening salvo of many a bloody campaigns have come on the tail of the phrase, "the God Emperor wills it." It could be said that the justification for all wars the Imperium embarks on are at their heart fueled by zealous piety, or at least draped in its trappings. These are just wars, wars based on ecclesiarchal doctrines whose atrocities and crimes are justified, even called for, by the God Emperor himself. The reason behind them rarely matters, even to the generals and admirals commanding the vast imperial military forces. For them, it is enough that the God Emperor wills it, and so it shall be done. Due to the nature of the imperial creed, wars of faith may be waged against any who oppose the rightful rule of the Imperium of Man, be they alien, heretic, or rebel. However, the Imperium reserves a special hatred for one foe, the forces of the ruinous powers. These wars can be faster and more intense than any other war, although this is by no means a guarantee, since their goal is simply destruction more than conquest. They usually end when the aggressor has either wiped out the heathens and heretics, converted them, or taught them a sufficiently hard lesson. Afterwards, the aggressors will leave behind some religious official and missionaries to see that their work stuck and that their new converts remain on the narrow path. Garrisons of troops may be left behind as well to keep peace and enforce new doctrines, but the majority of the invading forces will be withdrawn to their bases, leaving the rest of the work to the priests and adepts. Due to their relative quickness, high potential for gain, and the ease by which a person can get an enemy labeled as a heretic in the Imperium, religious wars are quite popular among rogue traders. Whether based on true religious fervor or simply used as a convenient excuse, many rogue traders have waged wars with conspicuous displays of prayer and breastbeating. Unlike wars of conquest, in which they tend to take a secondary role, rogue traders often take a very active and enthusiastic role in religious wars. What better way is there to prove your devotion than by killing the enemies of the God Emperor? Indeed, many warrants of trade specifically call for the wielder to make wars amongst the heretics and bring his holy light to the godless heathens at the furthest reach of space. When attacked, a rogue trader embarks on a defensive war. Of course, many warmongers would have it believe that their wars are defensive wars. They justify their aggression by real or imagined threats, but their wars are predicated on the desire for wealth, land, and power. A true defensive war is fought to deny the enemy territory or resources, and often there is little reward except the preservation of what one already had. The ongoing defense of the Cadian Gate in the Cadian sector against the Black Crusades of Chaos was one example of a defensive war, as is the recent war fought on the world of Damaris against the Orc invaders. While those fighting defensive wars are typically caught flat-footed in the early stages of the conflict, they will have certain advantages over their attackers, due to fighting on familiar grounds, being closer to supply lines, and even the knowledge that they must win or perish. Due to the smaller potential profits of a defensive war, it is not something rogue traders get involved in. However, the potential reward in both finances and reputation for coming to the aid of an embattled people should never be overlooked. The reputation of the Esme Corda changed from a pirate and blackguard to the hero of the Imperium almost overnight, after the rogue trader participated in the destruction of the Space Hulk Cauldron of Savagery in the year 675 of the 40th millennium. More sinister rogue traders embark in wars of distraction. What better way to cover illicit activities and shady dealings than with a bloody armed conflict? As heinous as it may sound to some, inciting wars for the purpose of misdirection can be a perfectly legitimate, if perhaps slightly underhanded, business practice. A war pursued by ways of distraction is often fought by proxy. Thanks to their usual business dealings, rogue traders often have a ready supply of mercenaries and hired thugs that they can call upon for such an occasion. Sometimes a rogue trader must wage a war, but cannot be seen to have done so. When a rogue trader needs some dirty work done, but it is either inconvenient or impolitical to get dirt on his own hands, there are plenty of private military organizations in Imperial space more than willing to do it for him, including other rogue traders. War of Proxy is a war fought on behalf of one party, typically unknown to an actual combatant and hired through numerous cutouts and front organizations by professional mercenaries or other agents. While it can be a clean and expedient way to wage war, the risk of doing so should not be underestimated. Without direct control of events, such wars have a way of spiraling out of control, possibly hampering the very goal they were supposed to obtain. Sometimes it is more profitable to supply a war than it is to fight it. War profiteering is as old as the act of war itself, and much like war, is both praised and detested. War profiteers are individuals or groups who make their profit by selling important material to belligerents in an armed conflict, and can range from a guardsman selling a lasgun of a dead comrade to a huge manufactorum. Although war profiteering is typically thought of as the selling of weapons, fighting vehicles, and other war equipment, the need for any valuable commodities can be exploited for profit in times of war. Medical supplies, foodstuffs, and raw materials all tend to be in high demand in a war zone. It is not unheard of for a canny war profiteer to sell his wares to both sides of the conflict. There have even been cases of war profiteers instigating armed conflicts for the sole purpose of supplying arms and resources to the belligerents involved. Rogue traders are adepts at war profiteering. They are well placed to buy commodities for low, shipping them to willing war zones and sell them for a tidy profit to all comers. In fact, the business of making war a business is many a rogue trader's dynasty's core dealings. Xenocide, similar in theory to its cousin genocide, is the act of waging war for the sole purpose of completely eradicating an intelligent alien species. To the Imperium, xenocide is accepted and even advocated as a religious imperative of humanity, and is yet another common mandate dictated to a rogue trader by their warrants of trade. While not all rogue traders are compelled to pursue campaigns of xenocide in their warrants, nearly all are expected to assist Imperial forces in campaigns against Xenos. While all rogue traders tactically agree to this upon their warrants, in practice it is a different matter altogether. Away from the watchful eye of the Imperium, many a pragmatic rogue trader have turned their backs on human settlements besieged by Xenos when the cost of assisting outweighs the benefit of leaving their fellow humans to their fate. A rogue trader renowned for utilizing these methods to wage war is Caligos Winterscale. He comes from a storied line of powerful rogue traders that have waged wars, conquered planets, and written their name across the Corynus expanse. The friends and resources of House Winterscale are legion, but so are its foes. For if there is one thing a Winterscale loves more than profit, it is a worthy opponent. Ever since Purity Lethemion charted safe passage through the Maw and the stars beyond, opening the exploration of the Corynus expanse, there have been Winterscales in the expanse. Centuries later, Caligos Winterscale is the latest of his dynasty to inherit the now famous Winterscale warrant of trade. In the years since his ancestors, Sebastian Winterscale, the power of Winterscale has only expanded, and Caligos Winterscale has proven unwilling to rest on his family's laurels. In the last half-century, he has proven himself as capable as his ancestor, Sebastian, and now the name Caligos Winterscale is spoken with fear and awe throughout the expanse. And those were 40 facts about rogue traders. The more I learn about rogue trader, the more I want to play Dark Heresy. Unfortunately, the play group that I have, I don't think is suitable for playing that type of game. But again, if you want to continue learning more about rogue traders and awesome lore, check out the Dark Heresy books. Or jump on over to the wiki page, link in the description, that has more information there. Now, comment down below, let me know what other types of lore you guys would like us to cover on this channel. So comment down below with suggestion, followed by your request. Thank you guys so much for liking, commenting, and sharing. Because of you, we can continue to put out Warhammer 40K content. And don't forget to share this on Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media you use, because that really helps out a lot. With that said, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.